Hello and welcome to Lewis Nichols Live Stories in association with Shane Solomon. And today is a pinch myself moment because we have an absolute icon in the studio, Miss Stephanie Beacham. Thank you so much for coming down.
Delightful.
We're going to have a good chat today because you've done pretty much everything. So we've got a lot to cover. And I want to go back to the very beginning, which is where your love of performing, came from. Did you love it from being a child?
No,
Really?
no.
So where did
I
it
was
come
going
from?
I was going to teach deaf children to dance because I thought that deaf kids had a pretty bad rap and were thought of as slightly stupid and rather inelegant. And as I had hearing problems myself and never had any hearing in that ear, I wanted them to be able to present themselves proudly. And I realized that you can hear through a bouncy floor. Okay, if the floor is bouncy enough, it has the reverberation, and that they could hear music in a way through the reverberation of a floor. And that was what I wanted to do. And I went to Paris and I started to study mime with most extraordinary person, Etienne de la Crue, who taught Marcel Marceau.
Wow.
And if you mentioned Marcel Marceau, he said, Il est mort, il n'existe plus. He's dead, doesn't exist. Why? Because Marcel Marceau started using props. And for it to be a true mime, you can't use props. I could go on boring you for a long time about this sort of thing, or I needn't.
No, I like that. And you also did, is it ballet? You wanted to be a ballerina?
Oh, well, I would have loved to have been a ballerina, but that was shot by the age of 10 when I was examined from head to foot by the Royal Ballet School and was told that I might make the corps de ballet, but I would never be a prima ballerina. And that's a horrible thing to tell a 10-year-old. And I didn't get into White Lodge. And I was, well, the truth was, my nickname was Little Miss 2x2, so I was rather square, and that's not quite the shape for a ballerina.
Wow. That must have been really hard, though, if you really
It was
wanted
ever
to...
so hard. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Do you know how awful a ballerina's training is? A cousin of mine who was at White Lodge used to sleep with bricks tied to her ankles, well, so that her arches would become more.
Wow.
That sort of thing. And also punitively diet. I mean, a punitive diet, terrible, terrible starvation to make that perfect
Yes.
ballerina look. So I'm very lucky.
So it worked out well in the end.
Everything always has.
So when it comes to the performing side of things, did you go to a performing school to
No.
learn the craft? So it just...
No.
How...
I went to RADA.
Yeah,
I went to the
nice.
Royal Academy later. But at school, well, I only did one school play. And they were doing a play called Electra by Sophocles. And somebody came up to me and said, would you play Chrysothemis? And I said, what? I said, what's the name of the play? And they said, Electra. I said, no, I'll do that one. So I played Electra. And my sister, my elder sister, is still waiting for me 60 years later to be as good again as I was in that play.
Oh, that's lovely. We've got lots to talk about with the television side of things because you've done so much, but when did your first opportunity with television come about?
Television. So I went through where we were jumping a bit because I got sacked from my au pair job in Paris where I was studying mime. I got sacked. Completely justifiable. I was the worst au pair ever. I mean, I would stick a sweet in his mouth to make him go to sleep, you know. And when I had au pairs for my children, I knew every trick in the book. I mean, I was awful. This little boy, Lionel, used to say, "Je veux voir le guignol, je veux voir le guignol." So I used to take him to the Punch and Judy and leave him there. He was 4. Leave him at the Punch and Judy and go off and have coffee with my friends. I mean, I was appalling. Anyway, I got fired. The Spanish maid was on to me. The family weren't, because I was so well behaved at dinner and everything. But the Spanish maid knew, and she hit me over the head. Can't remember what with, but it was something nasty. Anyway, I was given a lot of Chanel No. 5 and sent back to England. And I thought, what am I going to do now? And I went to visit a boyfriend in Liverpool, where they were starting up a theatre. And it was in an old church, Hope Hall, and it was the Liverpool Everyman, which became a very famous theatre, is a very famous theatre. And that I joined that. I auditioned with the one piece from O-level English of Juliet's that I could remember, you know?
Yeah.
Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus lodging, such a wagoner, oh, you know, all that rubbish. Anyway, that's what I auditioned with, and I got in, and I spent a year at the Liverpool Everyman. And then Terry Hands, who later ran the Welsh National Theatre and tons of things, said, "You need technique." I said, "Okay, where am I going to get it?" He said, "You need to go to RADA." And John Fernald, who ran RADA, was coming up that week, came up to see all his old students who had started a theatre. And he said to me, "How nice to meet you, and what have you done?" I said, "Well, you saw it this evening." He said, "Okay, and what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to RADA." He said, "Oh, are you?" I said, "Yes, Terry Hand says I need technique, so I need to go to RADA." And he said, "Oh, well, then you had better come down and see me." And so I did, and I did an audition, and I got into RADA, and that was that.
And then you learned everything that you needed to, the technique side.
I don't know. You know, I don't think I've ever known such competition in the whole of my career as there was at RADA. It was vicious.
Really?
Yes.
In what way?
Bitchy. It was sort of a very good preparation for real life, I suppose.
Yeah. And then, so with getting what you needed to with the experience, when did your television kind of break?
I left RADA, and then I went to the Bristol Old Vic, the Oxford Playhouse.
Wow.
And first television was a 3-hander with Nigel Stock and Avis Bunnage, who are famous in their time, and was a complete delight. And the director heard me swear in French. And brilliantly, luckily, he cast me as Mary Queen of Scots in something he was doing called The Queen's Traitor. And so I was Mary Queen of Scots, and Queen Elizabeth was a wonderful actress called Susan Engel. And Susie is very tall, and I'm not so tall. And Elizabeth was very short, and Mary was very tall. So all these wonderful actors had to take their shoes off when they were acting with me, and put on high-heeled shoes when they were acting with Susie. But anyway, that was the beginning of television.
And how did you find that? Because obviously doing the theatres and having a live audience to then go and do television, was it kind of a surreal thing? Did you like it? Was it difficult?
I think actually all those were on, no, I suppose that was on, I don't know what was on film and what was, I just did the same thing anyway. I just was with the person I was with and I was acting. I mean, it didn't make any difference to me. I mean, obviously it's very different in the live theatre because you've got, well, if you're doing Shakespeare and you've got kids in the audience and they're studying Shakespeare, if you go wrong, they shout out what you've said wrong, which is very rude of them, but that's what they do. That old thing about the difference between film acting, television acting, and theatre. It's a whole discussion. Do we want to go there?
Yeah, I'd like to know if you have a preference.
Well, first of all, the most underrated art, I think, is touring theatre. Because on a Monday, you come into the theatre and it's brand new and you think, this is where I change, this is where I think, now let's get this sound situation. And you do a sound check. And it's difficult being mono hearing, but I've found ways of doing it. And so each theatre's got a dead spot, and you've got to know where that dead spot is. It's sometimes even row F, but you've got to know where it is. You've got to know where you have to, and you have to make sure that everybody can hear. And those Mondays on tour are, they're when you really know your craft, because there isn't someone to tweak up the sound. You have to do it. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but anyway, by Saturday, you feel you've been there all your life. But on Saturday, you're packing everything up because you have a new theatre on Monday. I think that it is where you learn your craft.
Yeah. So theatre, I guess, in the early days is where you learn, like you just said, a lot, and then you use that going
Early
forward.
days, not just early days. I've done, I don't know, I think I've done 65 plays.
Wow.
I think so.
That's
I think
incredible.
65 plays, yeah, something like that.
Going a little bit back earlier in your career, and you starred in The Games, directed by Michael Winner. Do you have fond memories of that? Because that was a good opportunity quite early on.
I tell you what it was a good opportunity for, free food. It was the first film I'd ever done, and I didn't know. You got there way early in the morning and you got free food all day. And that was the greatest thing about filming to me at that point in time. And also make sure you've got a coat with big pockets, because then you can take some food home for your friends. Because I was living in a commune, and they weren't interested in what I was doing, but they were very interested in free food.
Did you like working with Michael? Was he good to work with?
Michael Winner. Oh, I love Michael Winner. He's terribly special, Michael was. He could be the rudest man on earth. But on that, at 6 o'clock in the morning, that first morning, he said, well, my dear, this is your lighting man, this is your cameraman, this is your sound man. And Miss Beacham went to the radar, and she will now present her line. And I had to say, well, Caruso was just a fat mouse until he started to sing. That was my line. He said, and we think that is very good indeed, but I am going to just let you mull on it, and we will see you later. Thank you very much, Miss Beacham. Well, later, that was 6 o'clock in the morning. They didn't get to me till 5 o'clock at night. Now, I've already told you about the free food, so I didn't care. I was perfectly happy. And Michael got the really wrong impression of me, that I was good to work with, that I was easy to work with. So, enter the nightcomers. Yes, do you
Yeah.
want to? Because Enter the Nightcomers. He had to cast the Nightcomers. Got Marlon Brando. You've got no budget. You need someone to play Miss Jessel, who can come in at 6 o'clock in the morning before Marlon has thought about waking up, and you can keep her all day. And when Marlon decides he's going to go home, you can use her again. In other words, someone who's just going to be accommodating. Now, the producers didn't want me, they wanted another star. But Michael Winner was too realistic. If you've got two big stars, there's going to be discussion. There's going to be time wasting.
Okay.
There's going to be stuff. Whereas if you've got one star and one, I don't know what you'd call me, someone you could just push around, it was going to be all right. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why but I said to Michael, I would love to do your film, but I want a date with Marlon Brando before we start. He said, my dear, I am offering you the chance of a lifetime with the biggest star in the whole of Hollywood, and you want a date with Marlon Brando before you deign to say that you will. Well, I said, yes. I said, because the thing is, if Marlon's going to fire me or not want me, I want to be before filming starts. So if we've had a date, if we've met and gone out and gone to the movies or something and got to know each other a bit, then and he said, yes, okay, then I will feel more secure. Oh, I've never heard the like. I've worked with everybody. Charles Bronson doesn't do this to me, all that stuff. So it was arranged that we would have a date and we would go to the movies. Well, not actually go to the movies, but there would be a John Ford film shown because Marlon wanted to study the Irish accent. So you have a date with Marlon Brando. And what do you wear? Well, no point in dressing up. He's met everybody, knows everybody. No point in putting lots of makeup on. He's seen everybody, I mean, you just have to turn up. And I was late.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't find a taxi. I was going to get a taxi. I had 2 and 6pence in my purse and I was going to get a taxi. Couldn't find one. So I arrived hot and sweaty and very, very sort of, and you're Marlon. And I'm sat down and I daren't even look at you. And John Trevelyan, who was the censor, was also invited to dinner because we needed John Trevelyan on our side because it was a contentious film with a lot of nudity and stuff, sadomasochistic, a whole load of rubbish, and which we will get to later. And so John Trevelyan, the censor, was there. And they were talking, somebody said something about Zen Buddhism, and I peeped up to say something. And John Trevelyan just sort of talked over me. And I was really embarrassed because, I was just embarrassed. And this paw came over and held my hand. Marlon, who was next door to me, and I hadn't dared look at him at all, he got my embarrassment and he just held my hand. And that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship.
Wow. Special memories.
Wonderful friendship.
He's one of the most incredible actors, and to work with someone like that and you get each other and understand each other, that's what's special.
We were friends. I said, Marlon, where do you do your best acting? He said, in the car going home.
Wow.
You know, when you think about it, you think, I could have done that in the car going home. Oh, Marlon. I mean, when Christian went to prison, you know, your son goes to prison. I thought, oh, I've got to phone him. You know, what do you say? Anyway, I phoned him and I said, look, I feel as stupid as a bunny rabbit stopping a bear in the park, because I feel like a bunny rabbit. I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you. And for ages and ages and ages, he phoned me every day, just to check in.
Special friendship.
And when the fires in Malibu, first phone call, Marlon, come on up. If your house is in danger, just come on up. I didn't. How stupid. It would have been Marlon or Jack Nicholson. Anyway, I didn't, because I tell you why I didn't, because I wanted to make sure that everything was all right with my home if I could. And it was just okay. But anyway, that's the sort of friendship.
Really touching.
That's the sort of friendship.
Can I also say, you do the best Michael Winner impression I've heard.
Oh, I ought to get my Marlon going. See, it's all to do with sinuses. It's all to do with sinuses.
Yeah.
Once you realise why people speak like they do, I can't do it now because I'm all emotional, but I do a terribly good Marlon Brando.
When you were doing Michael Winner, I was quite taken back. It was very good. One thing I wanted to talk about was Joseph E. Levine. Because I just wanted to check if it's genuine that he asked you to pose nude for Playboy, and because you said no, he essentially blacklisted you from Hollywood. Is that kind of...
Pretty much. He said, you will do Playboy. I said, I won't. And I was in his office, in his thing. And which Joseph E. Levine was huge. I mean, you know, you could be talking Mayor or any of the huge. He was huge. And he had just bought... No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I was in his office and he said, you will do that. And I said, no, I won't. He said, you will? I said, no, you don't understand. I was nude in the film because that was a character that I was playing. But I don't want to be nude as me advertising. So this was sort of like, He said, well, tonight you will do the Johnny Carson show. And I stupidly wasn't honest. I said no. Now, what I should have said is, okay, but I don't have a hairdresser. I haven't got any clothes. I'm in New York in a pair of jeans. I may be staying in the penthouse of one of the most amazing buildings in New York, but I still don't have any clothes with me. And he would have said, no problem. But I didn't. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And it was just fear. Louis, if I could help any young actor, it would be, if you don't know, ask. It's fine to ask.
I mean, but it just sounds awful that you said no, but then it had an impact because, I mean, there were jobs. People wanted you to play the lead in films, but, I mean, yet they were being told no, not to cast you. It was like he had this huge impact. Did that affect
That's
you?
life.
Were
No,
you,
I mean, yes, of course. It was because I was told that if I was cooperative, he would have it playing in cinemas, East Coast and West Coast, and therefore I would be nominated for an Oscar. That's what he said. It's terrible being a stubborn little scared creature, but not looking as if you're scared. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just, so I must have just come over as incredibly snooty or whatever I did. And I went back to theatre. No harm in that.
But did they want you to be the lead in Straw Dogs?
Oh, this is what Sam Peckinpah told me. He said, you really must be a son of a bitch because I'm not allowed to cast you.
Wow. So he told you that directly?
Yeah.
Okay, so that shows that there was this kind of blacklist.
Yeah, I was blacklisted. Blacklisted from Hollywood. I didn't get back to Hollywood until I was with television, which was the Colbys and Dynasty. I did do films in England, but I didn't. I could have been a contender.
Yes, you could have. I think everyone agrees with that. Horror and horror films was something that you did really well. Do you like doing the horror stuff? Because you did Dracula.
Look, I just like acting.
Yeah.
And somebody says, do you want to be unemployed next week or do you want to come and make a horror film? You go and make a horror film. I mean, I've got more the sort of Michael Caine attitude. You better take the job because there might not be another one. The only thing about horror films was that I realised when you screamed, all your fillings showed.
Oh, okay.
So I had all my fillings made white. And then I could scream much better.
Have you ever said no to a job and then regret it later on?
What list do you want?
Really? Is there one that stands out the most?
No, quite a few there.
I want to go back to 1981. Now with
1981. Okay, I can go back there.
With Tenko. And the series.
Okay, this is all important. This is terribly important. Tenko. Okay. So, I was blacklisted from Hollywood, went back into the theatre, met my to-be husband again, because actually he'd been at the Liverpool Everyman, got married, had children. He was a wretched husband. And there I was, 2 kids, no work. And I thought, I don't think I'm doing this right. And a friend of mine said, what do you want? And I said, wow, I want a job and some sunshine. He said, well, don't want it. Bring it to yourself. Just bring it to yourself. Imagine it. Imagine it deeply. And it'll come. I said, all right. He said, but don't want it, because if you tell the universe you want something, the universe says, no problem, you can keep on wanting. Very good idea. You have to, when you are envisaging, when you are bringing about something, it has to be a picture that you are doing, not that you want. It isn't round the corner. It's not gazing into the windows of a sweet shop. You are choosing your sweets in the sweet shop and you are allowed them. And I wanted a job with women. I was pretty tired of boys. I wanted a job with women. I wanted a job in the sunshine. I wanted a job that was challenging. I wanted a job that Tenko. I heard about it. I was asked to go and interview. And I remember so clearly walking and saying, okay, I'm doing this job. How do I show you that I'm the right person for it? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm already doing it. It's happening. Give me the script. Give me the idea. And luckily, of course, she was a very sort of pushy woman, and so it was the correct way to do it.
And it was hugely successful. I mean,
Yes.
and still to this day is
Yes.
repeated on television. When you were working with so many other incredible actresses, was that stimulating for you to be around so many like-minded people?
Well, we had the information of the universe. We knew the price of shoes. We knew the right prayer. We had so much information. Darling Bert Kwok, who was playing the commandant, knew exactly how to treat us women. Was it to come and flirt with us all and talk to us all day? No, not at all. He used to come in, bow to us all, and then go to his desk, because he knew that we were talking about, well, the point is, you can get it, but it's on the third shelf. I mean, we were nattering about everything. And what is so interesting to me is that two of my very best friends to this day are Veronica Roberts and Louise Jameson. When anything happens, it's the Tenko girls that turn up.
Wow.
40 odd years later.
And it seemed to be a role that, because you did so much before, but it was the role that showed everybody that with serious dramas that you very much can lead and you do very well. And it led to so many other opportunities after that. So do you look at Tenko and kind of see that was the turning point with the dramas and the continuing dramas?
Well, Tenko was so multifaceted in its enjoyment because, for a start, we were in Singapore, we were in Malaysia. I met many new, wonderful friends in Malaysia. I don't think I regarded it like that, but as far as what is a really good job, what matters, we knew that it mattered. One day I was talking to myself, and Ronnie Roberts said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Shush, Ronnie, I'm just telling God that if he lets me get through tonight's recording, I promise to learn my lines next week." Because I was having such a good time as well.
Well, we got lots more of that, but it led on to Connie, the ITV series, Connie, not long after.
How did it lead on? I suppose it did lead on. Connie was a whole amazement, really. I'd been monstrously ill. And I was in hospital, and my agent came and with 12 scripts. And she said, "This is what we've been waiting for." And she put them on the bed. And I said, "Oh, no, don't, I can't, it's too heavy." And she put them on the side. I was too ill to think about anything. In the middle of the night, I needed a tissue. And there were 12 scripts on top of the tissues. So I managed to, started reading. I don't know if I got to the tissue. Well, I did get to the tissue, I cried. I just read the 12, and I said, "I've got to do this. This is mine. This is mine." And because it wasn't a straight offer. And I don't know if you want all this elaborate stuff. Anyway, I was asked if I could go for an interview. I was in hospital. I couldn't do anything. I said, "No, I'm so sorry, I can't. I'm down in Somerset in our beach hut." I was in hospital, and I can't come up just at the moment. And the director, Alan Dosser, said, no problem. We're coming down to Somerset next week, so we'll come and see you.
Oh.
I thought, okay. So I said to everybody, I've got to get out of hospital. I've got to get down to the beach hut. Alan Dosser's coming to see me next week. And Nick, who's the producer, who in fact missed the train, so he didn't. So it was just Alan. Okay, so I have not walked. I haven't done anything in a couple of months. And my mother and my boyfriend presented me at the beach hut. My mother stuck tissues in my bra so that it looked like I wasn't flat-chested, which I have seldom been. I was so ill. I mean, I was rail thin. And I said to my dear boyfriend, Martin Stanbridge, darling, I'm not going to ask you to do anything, but would you do everything? Would you sort of offer Alan a cup of tea? So, because I couldn't get up, they'd put me in this chair, dress me up nicely, rug over the knees, why not? It's slightly, and so Alan came and I said, oh, how lovely, just sit down, all right. And we started discussing. And then I got really excited and there was a little fence there. And I got really excited and I went, do you know, and I put my foot on the fence. And then I realised I didn't have the strength to get the other one up or that one down. So I was doing a sort of basic instinct, before basic instinct, I think. Anyway, that was Connie.
You have the best stories. It is when we had Christopher Biggins.
No, I've had the best life.
Yeah, you have. It reminds me when we had Christopher Biggins on the show. It's just you listen and absorb. It's amazing. But we couldn't do live stories without talking about someone very special to a lot of people. And that is, of course, with Sable Colby. Iconic for a lot of people. How did that opportunities with the Colbys come about? Because obviously it was a spin-off to...
So I had finished Connie. The day I finished Connie, I did my taxes. I went back in London, did my taxes. The kids were down in Somerset on holiday with my parents. So I did my taxes. The second piece of advice, apart from asking for advice if you don't know, is, oh dear, I was going to say, do your shit. Do your stuff. If you've got taxes to do them, because there will never be a better time, and there may not be a time. I couldn't have done all that stuff if I hadn't, how you do 2 and 6pence. What was that for? Oh, eyeliner. That tiresome stuff. Anyway, I'd done my taxes. Then I went down to Somerset to have a holiday with my children. I'd been working really hard on Connie, and I just wanted to run on the beach and play French cricket and just be silly, And the agent, how did they call in those days? Because I suppose they must have phoned Mummy. We didn't have mobile phones. First mobile phone I had was in America. It was this size. So there's a job that you've got to go up for. They are doing another sort of Dynasty. I don't know what Dynasty was, but doing another, and they're looking for the English actress. And I thought, no, they're not. No, they're not. They've got some American actress who's asking for too much money, and they're just threatening her because, what's her name? Joan Collins has made such a success, so that they're not bother. And they sent me a script, and I read it, and it flew away in the wind. I put it down, and it was by the beard. Then my neighbour phoned me in London and said, "I'm terribly sorry, I've locked your keys in your house," which meant my fish would die because she couldn't feed the fish. The plants would probably live, but the fish would die. Well, I cared about those fish. Don't know why, but I did. So I thought, oh, well, I've got to go up to London. Okay, well, I'll do that. That thing. I'll go along and do that thing. That's how important it was. Because I knew it was already cast. Because it was obvious it was already cast. I can't be bothered to. Anyway, I went up to London, fed the fish, because I had the key, and went along to this audition. And I walked into where the audition was, and I smelled. I thought, what is this smell? I know that smell. That's first night smell. That's sweaty actors. That's adrenaline. Ooh, I think this must be more important than I thought. And I grabbed the script, learnt it at the speed of light, and what do they say? Eat the furniture, chewed the wallpaper, did something like that. Anyway, got the part.
And then, because that's one of the most iconic parts in your career, and so many people, because she was just the ultimate television bitch, essentially.
No,
and
she wasn't.
Are you protective
She
of them?
was very protective of her children. She would do anything for her children. That's what motivated her. I mean, it's the old thing, isn't it? Imelda Marcos knew that the people of the Philippines wanted her to have 2,000 pairs of shoes. Right?
Yeah.
Silly bitch. Well, you got the same sort of stuff for Sable. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So she knew that it was only right that whatever. So my thrilled enjoyment of protecting my brood produced that soft-tongued bitch. But it was, you don't play a bitch. You play what is needed to get what you need, probably for somebody else.
She's just iconic. The look, the elegance, everything, and you watch back and the hair, it's just amazing.
Well, yes, but the only trouble is, really is a problem. I had this thing with my shoulders. I mean, every single thing, angles of shoulders, right? The whole thing. Just, I mean, where did that come from? But anyway, it did. Shoulders. My shoulders are so bad now. And I think people have said, is it too much sport? I thought, no, it was too much acting. Just extraordinary posing, probably with great tension. And I can hardly lift my arms now. I mean, seriously, because of, I don't know. It was just, and also, it was her. She had a good brain, and brains come out of the eyes. And I was very.
You had the look.
I gave it the eyes. I gave it the eyes. I did. I know I did. I mean, it was. She was bliss. She was bliss. I loved her. And of course, I loved Charlton Heston.
What was he like to work with?
Oh. One of the kindest men ever. He realised that I sometimes had quibbles with the script. And he said, my dear, if you have any concerns, I'm sure that they are justified. Bring them to me, because he had the right to change scripts. Whereas the first time I complained about some lines and said, I don't think she'd say this, can we do it? I had another television put in my motorhome, so I didn't just have one in the main room, I had one in the bedroom as well, because they probably thought, oh, she's complaining because she's not occupied enough, give her another television. And so Chuck was my hero, and we communicated. We weren't doing a soap. Chuck and I were not doing a soap. We were doing our marriage. And the crew were just divine, because when they knew it was a big scene between me and Chuck, they used to come along and watch for their fun, not because they had to, because they knew that they would. It was like having a little mini theatre. Chuck also protected me in an enormous amount of ways, because I'd have all these wonderful ideas, and he would, because he said, oh dear, the fingers are going again, because I'd say, Chuck, what about, and he said, oh, the fingers are going again, and he knew I had. Now, he would listen to everything, and then he would say, do you know what we could do, providing we do it that way, that way, that way, so that the camera only has to do 3. He would rationalize my enthusiasm and make it utterly workable. And I felt like a ballet dancer that he was supporting. He would allow me to dance completely, and he didn't need the focus. They're special. That's Charlton Heston. Oh, I mean, Charlton Heston's so funny, so funny. I said to my parents, they were over one Christmas, and I said to my parents, we're going up to Chuck's house tonight for a tree decorating party. My father said, why? He's a tall chap. Can't he decorate his own tree? There's lots of stories. I loved that man. Oh, I'm going to go again. And he got Alzheimer's. And when he was first diagnosed, he phoned me up and he said, my dear, before we all forget, I want you to know that I love you.
Wow. That's something that stays with you forever.
Kind of.
Wow. You've had it sounds like in the industry, you've had the most amazing men working with you.
Well, don't say things like that, Lewis. That's really very bad of you.
No, in the sense of
No, that is
Marlon.
something that could be taken right out of context. It sounds like in the industry you have had the most amazing men.
But like
yes,
Marlon
I think I have.
and, Charlton, they really protected you.
So you make me cry and you make me laugh. That's not good of you. Cheers.
We're going to give you going back a little bit now to, you're working with Charlton on the Colbys, and after a couple of series, the show had come to an end.
Yes, but as somebody said to Chuck, aren't you sad that it's coming to an end? He said, well, I've never had a job this long before.
So he was ready for the next thing.
Well, it's...
This is where I get excited now, because just a year later, you came back as Sable, but on Dynasty, and it was huge.
Joan didn't want me, but she had no one else to fight with, because Linda just decided to stay in a coma, and so there you go.
Honestly, Joan didn't want you initially?
No, not really. No. I mean, I was Colby's. She was Dynasty. Why should she want that creature when I first did Colby's, they said you're not allowed to wear red and black. I said, okay, why? Well, they might think that you're Joan Collins. Okay, no problem. Oh, well, this is lovely. This is lovely. They asked me what I wanted to wear, and I said, white. I like white. And they said, you can't because the set's white. And I said, paint it.
Really?
And they did. But I wasn't saying, I mean, you only have to be around me for 3 minutes to know I say ridiculous things. I don't mean them. I mean them, but I don't mean them. I don't mean that's what you've got to do. And they painted them. They painted the sets of different things so I could wear white. So I didn't care not being able to wear red and black. And I seriously do believe that I started French nails, the French nail thing, because again, the red, black, can't do it, no problem. I'll have mine very, 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 very long, and I'll have white tips on them, because I had seen that, but it wasn't like everywhere. And after that, it was everywhere.
I love that. And I just love, well, with Joan, it was the two biggest stars together, and it was kind of bitch versus bitch. And I watch clips now, and it was just like you say, the posture, the comments, the way you deliver a line, it was stunning. What was it like to then when you had that chemistry with Joan?
Well, the thing is, we're both absolute cowards, and we're hopeless at fighting. So we had the lamest struggles, because neither of us are very good at it, and we don't like doing it. So for tumbling over sofas and things, we got other people, and we would look at them and thinking, I don't think their legs are very good. I hope they're not going to... That sort of thing, Joan and I would just be watching. Look, it's always just good to do business with people that can do business.
Are you still in touch with?
Yes. I mean, when we're not close. I mean, in Hollywood, Joan likes the best table in the best restaurant. I like walking on the beach with bare feet. Joan wouldn't know what to do at the beach these days, if you know what I mean, apart from, we've never been the same, never wanted the same stuff. And I think that's something that she began to understand about me, that I was in no way going to even begin to threaten her social life, because my social life was surfers, dogs, kids, mess. But don't muck me around on the set.
Yeah.
Don't even start.
Even when you talk now, I love it. It's like I can imagine being there. It's like transporting.
Yeah.
What was life like after Dynasty? So in the sense of work, because we're going to go to a lot of the more recent stuff.
I went straight on to Sister Kate. I thought, I've done with these clothes. I've done with these shoulder pads. I've done with all this stuff. And so I had a sitcom. I was a nun. And Jason Priestley was my eldest orphan. And it was working with Jason on Sister Kate that got me to be Luke Perry's mum on 90210.
Wow.
Because Jason knew that I would get on really well with Luke. And I did. I loved that boy. I loved that boy. I loved Jason as well. So, playing a nun on a sitcom, how about that? After Sable. That's about right, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead now because one of my favourite shows ever is Bad Girls.
Really?
I love it.
Oh, I used to say to Amanda, who is going to be 90 next week.
Wow.
She's going to be 90. She's having a party. I can't go because I've got this, that, and the other. Amanda Barry is 90. She's shocked. She's shocked. She's so shocked. She can't believe she's 90. Silly bat. Silly old bat she is. So we had this dressing room, and we're both absolute fanatics about Radio 4. And so we would have these huge scenes with all these women. And I used to say, move left. She said, why? I said, don't ask me why. Move left. All right. Okay, now one step back. Amanda, just one step back. Oh, all right. I said, good. Now I've got us away. We won't have to be in the main shot. After the main shot, we won't be, I used to make sure that we weren't in all those hideous crowd scenes for too long. I loved the scenes when we were in together, the Costa Cons, because they were proper acting, and there we are. Quite scary being in those lock-up prisons, you know. Yes, quite scary. Quite interestingly scary.
The thing is with the Costa Cons, they were mischievous, they were cheeky, they were just so much fun. And you would just go around that prison, being a little bit conniving, getting what you wanted. But for the show, to get you and Amanda on the show was a big kind of scoop, You got these two incredible stars that have joined. So what made you say yes to Bad Girls?
I was doing, can't remember quite the thing about it. After 9/11, I knew that I wanted to go and live with the enemy. The enemy. What's the enemy? I wanted to go and live in a Muslim country. So I bought this riad in Essaouira in Morocco. And that's what I did up. There's a whole fabulous stories about that, but that's not what you're interested in here. And I also wanted an acting job at the same time that wasn't going to be too sort of hard. So I could, do a bit of acting and then pop over to Morocco to do a bit of this, that, and the other, and then pop back again. So that's what made me take it. It was a sort of, it will fit in with life as I am leading it.
Did you make friends with some of the other cast members on the show?
Yes, I've just had a thing from Kika and
Vicky.
Yes, about something or other. I can't remember what it was, but then I've got to get back to them. Kika's a very, very good woman, and she does Bowen technique. See, that's the other thing. So many good women. It's a bit like Tenko. There's the information of the universe if you get enough women together.
Yeah.
See, boys don't have the same thing. They'll discuss the football, but girls get down to sort of the spiritual side of things and where you can buy the cheapest shoes, don't we?
Yeah. A lot of depth.
We really talk.
Yeah.
And there you go. So that was all about.
I think the Costa Cons changed the direction in a good way, and even the relationship with some of the other characters. You had Jim Fenner that was notorious, horrible to the women, but he had this little soft spot in a way for the Costa Cons. He found them a little bit cheeky, a little bit funny. What are they up to next?
Well, innocent. I think he didn't think they were, and also they weren't fanciable. So they weren't going to be. They were middle-aged women. They weren't sort of young flesh.
Yeah. And are you ever?
Isn't he a good actor?
Jack Ellis, incredible.
Really.
Incredible. A few years ago, I did a Bad Girls reunion, and we had Vicky, Kika. They all came on, And the show has so much love. It's such a cult following. Does that ever surprise you? And I'm assuming you're asked quite a lot about Bad Girls.
Not really.
Really?
Not really. Well, if I only give a minute, isn't it minute? All right, that's disgusting what I'm about to say. No, it's not disgusting, but it's sort of true. If people have trapped you for a minute, they're going to mention one thing, and the chances are it's going to be Tenko or it's going to be Dynasty. So I don't think we get down to Bad Girls. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, I love Bad Girls. And they do reunions now. The cast get back together. They meet the
I
public.
don't get asked.
Would you do it?
I don't get asked. Do reunions where?
There's one literally last week. So you had Deborah Stevenson was there. So they come together and
No, I haven't been asked. I think they probably think I'm too snooty. Or maybe that was what that email that I haven't answered from Kika and Vicky, I don't know.
Well, one thing I want to jump to is I love Strictly Come Dancing.
I hate Strictly Come. I hated.
Really?
I love looking at it.
What didn't you like about it?
Well, actually, when you really think about it, Lewis, people go on there and suddenly, for the first time ever, they are wearing the most amazing frocks. Excuse me? I've already worn the most amazing frocks. So you can't suddenly make me look glamorous and wonderful because supposedly I've been looking glamorous and wonderful for years. So there was no sort of winning on that. I mean, I remember watching Kate stroke the front of her satin dress. And I said, "You love that, don't you?" She said, "Yes." See, sequins to me are just sequins. I've worn them. You know, it's not. So that wasn't going to be a winner. Then you have to work ever so hard, you know, that dancing business. And one of my very best friends had just committed suicide, and I didn't want to do it because I just wanted to sit in a corner, suck my thumb, and be miserable. And I tried to get out of it at the very last minute. And they said, no, just do it for fun. You cannot do Strictly Come Dancing for fun. You have to get some competitive edge going. You have to get some winning. I didn't have any of it. I didn't care. I just wanted out.
Well, you did, was it two or 3 weeks and then...
I don't know what I did.
Coronation Street.
I love it.
You love Coronation Street.
Well, I love Bill.
It's just part of our culture. We love it.
There's sort of a little list, isn't there? This Is Your Life.
Yeah.
As a program. What are the others?
Coronation Street.
Yes.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Yes, I didn't do that, and I could have done that. But they didn't offer me anything wonderful, but I was offered something, I didn't do it. But no, not television programs, sort of iconic things, like This Is Your Life, Desert Island Discs.
Yeah.
So there's sort of Desert Island Discs, there's your, and somehow Coronation Street is one of those. And so I've got a sort of sentimentality about it, but I've got a huge sentimentality for that lovely man.
What made? I'm assuming you didn't audition, and I guess they came to you and said, "We've got this idea." Is that how that came about? So I just couldn't imagine you.
No, I went up to Manchester. I had an amazing crisis. I mean, a real crisis. And I went up to Manchester, and they said, "Don't worry, you don't have to read or anything." I said, "No, I've come all the way up here." "No, I can't believe it." It was some terrible crisis, family thing. And I just pulled it together, did the reading, left. And they thought, "I think she better do it. You know, I think we want her." Something like that.
And what an amazing...
Because I could pull my stuff together. In other words, I wasn't going to let a crisis... You know, we've all fought through, haven't we?
Did you have any of the other cast members come up to you and ask for advice? Because to have someone
Advice from me?
Yeah.
Well, Coronation Street, they are the specialists of their own life. They have what a family that is.
Yeah.
And also very, very caring management. Very caring. And then there's Bill.
What's it about Bill that you click with? Have you known him for a long time?
Well, if I had done a soap opera for 60 years, my dressing room would be, it would be on the roof. I would have a jacuzzi. After 60 years, Bill, when they changed studios, didn't even need a loo.
Wow.
A loo? I would have wanted at least a jacuzzi. He is the most undemanding, wonderful man. He just has a little dressing room like anybody else.
He's a legend, very much so.
He's a deeply good human being. And I had another big crisis proper the same week that his wife died. And Bill and I knew how to be with each other. We knew the silence, but to be with each other. We knew how to do it. And we would just be together in an empathy that was proper. And that's how we got through. He helped me, I helped him.
Did it feel special to go back a couple of years ago?
Yes, but you can't go back. You never can go back. You can return, and I had a lovely time that time too. But it was different. And I can't remember what was going on, but perhaps it wasn't as involved as the first time.
Well, we're going to do something a little bit different now. So I've got 10 questions.
Okay.
All about your career.
Okay.
And there's going to be some shows, and if you've got any funny stories, feel free. But we're just going to quiz you on your own career.
Oh, yes.
So,
do I remember? Doubtful.
You starred in 8 episodes of Beverly Hills 90210.
Is that all?
Yes.
It was my rotten American accent, that's why.
But what was your character's name?
Iris.
Yes. You played Dr. Kristen in Sequest for 23 episodes.
Dr. Christian, that Roy Scheider used to call me Dr. Crestfallen.
But in what year?
What year? That would have been, it was 2 years.
Yeah.
It was sort of 89, 91, that sort of thing.
So 93, 94.
Okay.
How many episodes of Bad Girls did you appear in?
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue.
If you were to guess?
It's all one story to me.
It was 39.
No.
Yeah, 39.
Good Lord, 39.
And we love every one of them. What was your character's name in Tenko?
Rose.
Rose, correct. You starred alongside Shelley Long, Craig T. Nelson, and Betty Thomas in which film?
Oh, got some good stories about this. Troop Beverly Hills.
Yeah. What are your good stories?
Oh, well, one of the things was that's the first time that I met Aaron Spellin's daughter, Tori. And I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. Spoilt daughter. I saw her one day on the set. Literally, she was going to faint any minute. She hadn't been given water. None of them had, but some of them had brought it. She was so undemanding. She was such a little sweetheart, and I've loved her ever since. Tori's a really good girl, but on Troop Beverly Hills, not Troop Beverly Hills, on 90210, the girls were like Sharon and all of them actually. So this is how they were in the makeup chair in the morning. They were made up comatose. And once they had been made up, they were nudged and they would go onto the set. They were still drunk from the night before. These were players, those girls were.
Well, we're going to another one for you now. You played Miss Elizabeth Peacock in which TV series?
Well, that's Cluedo. And that's when I first met June Whitfield. And June Whitfield then played my mum in Boomers.
Wow, so you worked together again.
Special woman.
A friend of yours?
No, not like that, but such a special woman, so humble and so talented. I mean, she's been doing comedy on that radio. You just listen to the radio for Ron, yes, F, all that stuff forever. June Whitfield, special.
In what, well, we know you're going to know this. In what years did you star as Sister Kate in Sister Kate?
I suppose 89.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how many episodes of Coronation Street did you appear in? Again, that must be difficult because it's kind of like you said, one.
I don't know. About sort of 16, something like that.
27.
Oh, 27. The residuals should be better than they are.
I'm interested to see this one because I never thought you would do the show, but you did star in Celebrity Big Brother, which is a very tough show. But can you name any of the housemates that you were in there with?
What are you kidding? Ivana Trump and I spent dawn till dusk together. I adored that woman. That was a tragic death. Silly bitch. High-heeled shoes on a glass staircase. She was heaven, that woman. A really hard worker. I mean, you did have to put up with rather a lot of talk about super yachts, if you see what I mean. There was a bit too much money talk. But basically a down-to-earth grafter. And I know because she and I used to clean up the kitchen. And the only thing that I was jealous of her for is she brought in her 1,000 percal sheets. Now, if I'd known I could have brought in my 1,000 percal sheets, I would have done, rather than sleep in those terrible sort of nylon-y things.
Anyone else that you can remember being in there with? Because you had a good.
Oh yeah, because Heidi Fleiss.
Yes.
She gave me an amazing sweatshirt, which was completely bird-pecked, because she has parrots, and she wasn't very well, and she wouldn't tell. I respected that woman.
And other people you had were Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie was good. Now, what I did with... Okay, so the night before going into Big Brother, I thought, I'm never going to do this. This is just awful. This is one of the stupidest things ever. Very good fee. Turned down 3 times. Very good idea. And also, I was having my house in London done while I was away. Good place to be.
Yeah.
Why not? But the night before, I suddenly got the heebie-jeebies. I just thought, I can't do this. And I phoned up a friend, a very, very dear friend, who had been in the SAS, which you aren't allowed to know they've been in the SAS. And he didn't tell me, but I knew he had. And I said, okay, hostage situation. how do you deal with a hostage situation? Because basically that's what you are in Big Brother. He said, right. He said, befriend and look after the weakest member. That was Heidi. Don't volunteer. And anything they do to you, find it funny. Find out they will try to break you. They will make you weep. Find it funny. That information was so valuable. They poured rubbish on my head so many times, and I was able to laugh because I'd been told to find the funny side of it. What did you ask me originally?
Basically, other housemates that you were in there with.
Oh, Vinny.
Vinny Jones.
So what I did was I knew that I needed an alpha male, because behind every good man there's a good woman, right? And I knew I could get exactly what I wanted to happen by having the alpha male. So I chose Vinny, and I used to say, Vinny, people aren't da-da-da. And he'd say, oh, and he'd go do it. So in other words, he did my bidding, but it wasn't like he did my bidding. I was using all the information the SAS had given me about how you survive. I needed an alpha male, and he was my alpha male, not in a sexual sense, in a what? Yeah,
exactly.
That way.
And who better than Vinny Jones?
Nobody better than Vinny Jones.
What's next for you now? Have you got any projects that you can tell us about, or anything that you're working on?
Well, this month I won a Lifetime Achievement Award at the National Film Awards. I think when you get a Lifetime Achievement Award, you should sit at home and file your nails and plan a bit. So I've got nothing that I want to tell you about, but I think a Lifetime Achievement Award deserves a sort of celebration in some form or another, but I'm not quite sure what it'll be. And also the little film that we did, which I love very much, and in which I play someone with Alzheimer's, won 2 awards there, which is pretty stunning. So grey matter is, I don't want to play glamorous people. After a certain age and a certain look, it's farcical. You're the Wicked Witch. You're the Wicked Queen. You're not truly glamorous. You're a sort of effigy. You know, it's no, I want to play some really deep human beings. Thank you very much.
Well, hopefully we'll see you on the screen again, because everything that you do, if people know you're in something, you watch it because you just know it's going to be good.
That is very, very kind. I did Royal Shakespeare with Jeremy Irons. National Theatre, on stage with Ian McKellen.
What's he like to work with?
Well, so we were in the rehearsal room, and I wasn't enjoying myself. It's a prison, the National Theatre underneath is a prison. No lights, no windows, and everybody's all academic and intellectual and tiresome. And we were given things this deep, and I thought, I'm playing a whore. She doesn't know what the politicians what their policies are. She just knows them, what they like. I'm not doing any of that. So I was bleh. And I noticed that Ian McKellen was sort of upstaging me. And I went to wardrobe and I said, please may I have a 12-foot train? And they said, 12-foot train? I said, yes. You're not going to see my face for the whole production. So I want you to give me the best train anybody's ever had in their lives. You won't be able to I will be able to deal with a 12-foot train. Believe me, give me a 12-foot train. So there we went. I got my train. There's Ian, way upstage. And we are standing There's preview. There's the noise of the National Theatre. There's people in cardigans. There's real people out there, not sort of academic, intellectual phonies. There's real people who've come from offices and they're going to come and see us do our play. And I'm really suddenly excited. And so the doors swing open, these huge, enormous doors. I only just get my 12-foot train through. And Ian goes upstage and I'm on. And I make the audience laugh. And Ian does 2 steps forward. Next night, come in, swinging. Ian already is 2 steps down from where he was originally. I make the audience laugh, and he does 2 steps further down. By the end of the week, Ian McKellen was walking on stage, walking downstage left. I was walking upstage, turning in my amazing 12-foot train, and he had given me the stage. Why? Because he is the most unselfish, unegotistical actor in the world. He wants the audience to have a good time. And he didn't think I was going to be giving it to them from the rehearsals and things. So he thought, okay, I'll take the stage. There's another one that I've got to do. And as soon as he saw that I was going to do it and that I was going to love it, and they were everything, he was the most generous actor in the whole wide world.
Wow. I love Ian McKellen. I think everybody does. You know, when it comes to theatre, do you feel like an energy from everybody within that theatre? So the audience, when you walk on stage, does it just do something within you?
Yes, inevitably. And also there's lovely things that Fridays is a terrible day on tour. Fridays is awful. I call it Reluctant Husband Day because wifey has been waiting all week to go out. Husband has been, this is sort of middle class England, you know. Wifey has been waiting all week to go out. Husband's had a hard week at the office, doesn't want to go out. And they've come out to the theatre. So she's all ready. She's all nicely dressed, you know. He is, he's had 1 gin and tonic and he's going to have another one in the interval and he will, and what I do on Reluctant Fridays is make sure that by the end of the play, reluctant husband is sitting like this. That is that's what I do.
Gripped. I mean, you know, they're gripped and they're focused. Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
If I was to ask you now, with just theatre, what would your career highlight be? What would you say?
I would say probably, well, Ideal Husband. Ideal Husband I did in Australia for Peter Hall and on Broadway for Peter Hall. He wanted me to do it in London the very first time, and I was too busy, love. And so he cast me for New York. And Peter Hall, of course, has passed, but half an hour with Peter Hall is worth 2 weeks with most directors. He is brilliant, except after lunch. After lunch, he goes to sleep, and he thinks he's conducting an opera, because he did a lot of that. So he would, and this is Ideal Husband by Oscar Wilde, but he would be asleep and be conducting it, because he'd got the wrong piece and he was asleep anyway. But when he was awake, boy, was he sharp and on it and brilliant. So Ideal Husband was pretty nifty and pretty up there, but I adored doing Aquilina, Royal Shakespeare with Jeremy Irons. I've done a couple of plays with Jeremy. You need a chiropractor going at the same time when you're working with Jeremy because your neck goes out. what can I say? There's talent, and there's generosity, and they don't always go together, and sometimes they do. It's funny, isn't it? So we'll do our ideal husband will do.
Has there been a theatre show that you've not worked on and you kind of think, oh, I would have loved to have done that? One that stands out?
No. I've sometimes gone to the theatre and thought, oh, thank God I'm not in this. This is running 2.5 hours. This is far too long.
What about, because I love going to the theatre, I like musicals. It was one of my favourites. Is that something you like to do?
My
musicals?
children gave back their pocket money rather than hear me sing.
Are you not a good singer? Stephanie Beacham, thank you so much for joining us on Live Stories.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Stephanie Beacham, everybody.
Thank you.